started climbing when I was 16. They just opened a new climbing wall at the University of Hertfordshire, which is where I'm from. For me, I find rock climbing remarkably independent. There's obviously an extent to which you are dependent on your B-layer. You need to have a B-layer you can trust to know what to do in certain situations. When I'm soloing, that's climbing without ropes, I'm very cautious. One time I remember I was soloing after a friend on a route that he'd just taken. There was a crux, that's the hardest part of the route, and it was over an overhang. I had to reach up off balance, but I wasn't sure if I was going to find a good handhold at the top. I didn't particularly fancy it, so I decided let's just be sensible, and I down climbed it. It was about halfway through a 2-pitch climb, probably 16 meters at that point, which is essentially fatality height. The thing I like most about it is the actual climbing itself, the experience of the climb, the actual process of moves across the rock. I like to move very elegantly on the wall. If you can climb in a controlled manner, that's the art of it, so to speak.
I think possibly the interesting part of rock climbing is that it's quite generically appealable to many people, I think. I've always wondered if there are stereotypes around that all rock climbers are huge, burly men with massive arms like tree trunks and things. If that stereotype exists, it's completely a mile away. Some of the best climbers are very slim. It's not so much about power as power to weight ratio. So if you've got a lot of power but you weigh 4 tons, you're not getting up the rock. I think generally speaking, men are more interested in the competitive side of it, climbing harder routes and the challenge to oneself. But that's not at all a rule. Some of the more competitive guys I know will climb in any weather. I'll climb in any weather. Although it does make it harder. I think possibly one of the negative stereotypes is that there are a lot of arrogant people that climb. Several of my friends are fairly often known for getting their shirts off, and a lot of people are fine with that. They don't mind. They think, hey, fair enough, it's a warm day. But for other people, it is just, I think, particularly for women more than men. Unless you're a man worried about your own physical shape, it bothers people sometimes. And the attitudes, when people know that they're one of the stronger climbers in the club, they'll tend to speak about it fairly freely because it's true. And that can rub off the wrong way. I think a lot of the time we get a lot of new people coming to our club. People that come, they show up once or twice, and then they stop coming. I'm sure there's a number of reasons for that. One could be personality issues. Well, I do think myself, you're just showing off really, aren't you? There's no need to have your shirt off. And it does definitely confirm that in a way when there are people making absurdly loud frustration noises because they've not done this route or they've come off. It's just a ridiculous show. It's almost embarrassing to watch. You just think, calm down, it's not the end of the world. Nothing tragic has happened. But there they are making a huge deal out of it. I started to really involve myself in the club at the beginning of my second year. Since then I've become a committee member, and being part of the society has definitely helped me with my leadership. It's helped me quite a lot with I'm confident in myself. I know what I'm talking about when I'm saying it. The fears of obviously leadership is that someone might usurp your power. I don't have those fears so much anymore, and if someone did try to do it, I could confront it. I spend quite a lot of time with the club, quite a lot of which I could be devoting to my studies. I think for the first time in 2 years, just yesterday, I didn't go climbing so that I could study instead. The difference with my obligation to study is that there are no people directly involved in that except myself. My studies are quite an independent thing. I hardly know how many of the people doing my same course score on their exams or their essays. Scarcely bother to ask. It doesn't interest me to really know how other people are doing. I think in terms of my studies, I only really want to see how I'm doing to improve my own essays and stuff. I think the reason my friend groups is with the climbing group is actually the same as someone else I know from climbing. I think because I joined it so late, a lot of the people who I'm now at the club with, all my friends there, they were kind of already in a set of friend groups and things. So I, as a person showing up finally, kind of had to integrate into that. But I think as soon as I was kind of accepted into these circles of friendship, it became a very nice kind of feeling. It's like to be accepted and to be someone who is important or useful, kind of little micro society of the mountaineering club. I don't know how it is in other courses, but we, at least I, don't really interact with my course mates a great deal. By a great deal, I mean marginally at all. I still have many course mates who I don't know their names. People in my course definitely treat me differently, so to speak, because in my club I have a kind of a position, a role. I'm accepted and known fairly well to everyone. Whereas on my course, I think I'm not known so well. I'm still a bit of a stranger to many people. Sitting around in most of my seminars, most of the time, if we're not talking obviously to contribute to the seminar, we're just sat next to each other on our own. The way I am, the way I act, is determined by the people that are around me. There's always the question of knowing how you're perceived by other people. Often you can think you're being perceived one way and it will affect you. I have often thought that someone thinks I'm thinking a certain way. I would like to counteract that thought, but that's just the trouble of perception.